Welcome back to the Tailoring Talk Magazine movie marathon. We have chosen to accept the mission of watching every single Mission Impossible movie leading up to the release of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning in May 2025. It's Roberto here, and as ever, I'm here with my carefully, through lack of choice, assembled IMF team, John Evans and Alex Hansford. How are you both?
Feeling very tickety-boo, actually. Yeah, very bubbly and enthusiastic.
Tickety-boo.
Tickety-boo.
Tickety-boo, not hench or when or hen or whatever the hell phrase you were using the last couple of episodes. We won't dwell on it though. Alex, Alex, how are you?
I'm all right. I think we might have a slightly controversial one here.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
I think this could be. Well, it's because we've got the last two to do, and I think we're going to have a competition as to who thinks which one is the best. So
okay, cool. We're not going to use John's convoluted rating system that I don't understand.
I've got it open. It's ready.
I'm looking forward to it.
Brill. Okay. Without further ado, so today it's Mission Impossible Fallout, also known as Mission Impossible 6, which was released in 2018. Now, before we start, let's get our spoiler alert in. We will be detonating spoilers all over the place. So if for some reason you haven't seen Mission Impossible Fallout, hit pause, go see the movie, and then come back to us. So, Fallout, the electrifying sixth installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, detonated onto screens in 2018 and has since been rated by many as the franchise's best movie to date. Marking a significant milestone, Christopher McQuarrie returned to the director's chair, and this was a series first, which brought an unprecedented level of thematic and emotional consistency, building upon the elaborate threads laid out in Ghost Protocol, particularly Ethan Hunt's evolving role as the IMF's moral compass. Fallout directly confronts the lingering repercussions of Rogue Nation, specifically the capture of the insidious Solomon Lane and the dismantling of his shadowy syndicate. The story plunges Ethan and his trusted IMF team into a desperate race against time. Their mission? To retrieve 3 dangerously volatile plutonium cores before they fall into the hands of the Apostles, a terrifyingly radical splinter group of the now defunct syndicate. However, the stakes are immediately raised by the unwelcome intervention of the CIA, who insist on embedding their own operative, one August Walker, played by Henry Cavill, within Ethan's team. As the clock relentlessly ticks towards potential nuclear catastrophe, Ethan finds himself entangled in a web of treacherous double crosses, deceptive alliances, and agonizing personal sacrifices, all set against a backdrop of breathtaking global locations. I remember seeing this in the cinema because by this time we were fully on the Mission Impossible train, and I don't want to spoil my rating ahead of time, but let's just say we were very happy with what we saw. How about you, John?
Yeah, I agree. I think it will affect our ratings, our opinions on this one. I was looking forward to this one. Just my clearest memory is of the Cavill's fist pump in the toilets. I just remember thinking, right, they mean business here. The improvised fist pump. But it's a cracker of a film. It's a cracker. I really enjoyed it. How about you, Alex?
And Alex never saw it.
It's your first time.
Completely. Yeah. We'll talk about that. But I really enjoyed it, and I think I should have seen it in cinema.
Okay, another one you should have seen in cinema. There is a theme repeating itself here. So let's talk about how Fallout came to be. Following the resounding critical acclaim and the strong box office success of Rogue Nation, Paramount swiftly greenlit the 6th chapter a testament to the franchise's continuing appeal and the creative synergy between Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie. McQuarrie's return as both writer and director was a landmark moment, shattering the series' tradition of a new directorial voice with each installment. Initially, McQuarrie had reservations, but Cruise, ever persuasive, convinced him to come back with a renewed vision to transcend the traditional framework of loosely connected action set pieces and instead construct a narrative deeply rooted in character-driven storytelling. He wanted to get away from the filming by rails nature of storytelling that had happened before, where starting with Brian De Palma's Mission Impossible guys, they basically would work out what the set pieces are and what the locations were, and then they would build the story around it and then connect everything together.
Do you think
This
that was
was
an
the
ethos,
first.
Bobby, that came from trying to outdo Bond? Like they want to just do all the stunts and set pieces, and like let's now cobble a film together around that. Because that's really interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, I think also part of it was basically the fact that they'd get permission from the studio to go ahead and make another one, but then there would be deadlines and they'd have to meet timelines and all this sort of thing, and so then they just get thrown into it. And it's the irony of it is that every Mission Impossible movie, the making of, is basically like an IMF mission. And everything is down to the wire. And I will come back to that when we talk about one set piece that happens later in the film. McQuarrie's ambition was to delve into the weight of Ethan's past decisions and the consequences of those throughout the entire filmography. Consequently, Fallout is the most narratively serialized and emotionally resonant entry in the series. The screenplay fearlessly probed the depths of Ethan's unwavering moral code, relentlessly questioning the lengths that he will go to safeguard even a single life at the expense of the mission itself. Thematically rich, the film grapples with the spectre of nuclear proliferation. I couldn't resist getting a Bond reference in there. The complexities of loyalty and betrayal, and the elusive nature of identity in a world of espionage. McQuarrie consciously put Fallout together as a dramatic thriller interwoven with visceral action rather than a mere succession of dazzling but disconnected stunts and set pieces. This deliberate approach ensured each major sequence served a dual purpose, not only to thrill the audience, but also to drive character development and advance the sometimes complex plot, elevating the spectacle with genuine narrative weight. And you felt that from the very, very beginning of this. It was a very unusual and a very different, never seen before opening scene where we open on this dream sequence of Julia and Tom, Ethan, getting married, but it's actually Solomon who's doing the vows, and then all of a sudden they get eviscerated by a nuclear blast. So yeah, very, very different. Because the previous films
proper Vanilla Sky vibes at that sequence when I watched that as well, like that weird.
Yeah, spoiler alert! I haven't seen that film.
Yeah, well, just the lighting of Vanilla Sky and things like that. It looked like a sort of Tom Cruise earlier film because it was slightly ethereal.
Yeah. Alex, the opening of this film when it starts, does it? How did that feel to you compared to what you've seen before it now? Did it feel different? Did it feel like a completely different vibe? Did you feel like, oh, this is going to be a change? And like, I just want to get some of what your feeling was like as someone who was completely virgin to this.
Yeah, I mean, it was very. It felt like a grown-up version of Mission Impossible. But I mean, if I had to summarize the whole film, I think it would be Mission Impossible does Bond. But I think for me it just felt everything was slightly more grown up throughout. And there's still areas that are really funny, but it was just really really polished in every aspect. And I think that's what comes across. It's like there are other aspects where you can take the mickey out of it because they the CGI was rubbish, or because there was no character work or whatever. There's very little to pick holes on here, apart from the tech, which I will come on to. But it isn't. It comes across as a really, really polished sort of edition. I just enjoyed it from start to finish. So I think that just kind of it just set itself at exactly the right place for me. So yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I said it again.
I like how there was
half, by the way,
Huh?
with your comment about Bond. I said it to my other half and said, "This is better than Bond." So what you said about being like a Bond film,
yeah,
because it's Bond without the the slightly tricky moral values in the film. So
there wasn't the smart.
Yeah.
And also I think it does have a legacy to follow, but it also in a way it didn't, which is why it felt sort of secure enough to say, well, I know that seems a bit Bond, but I'm going to do it.
It's not shackled by its own history, is it? Really, is what you're saying?
Not at all.
It's treading new ground each time.
Yeah. So I think it was, and for the first time, the story was stronger than I would have expected. Like the whole interaction between the CIA and IMF, and how that whole thing was working out was just really, really nicely balanced. It made me care about the characters, which is unusual because not all of them I cared about. But this made me care not just about the team, but like the periphery of the characters, what their motivations were and what was getting them from A to B, why they were there. And I think that's what I liked most about this film, is that it all held up. Like every part of it held up. There weren't really any massive holes or we'll let them off of that. The action was good. It was the character work and the storyline works, and there's some bloody good action films elements as well. So you've really got nothing to pick holes in.
Yeah.
So yeah,
nicely summed up, Alex. I think we can move on to Dead Reckoning now. Well done.
Yeah, we're done. We're done now, guys.
Ratings and reviews.
Like, subscribe.
I mean, on a serious note, I think this really showed Christopher McQuarrie to be, for what he is, which is an absolute freaking master of his art, right?
Bobby, do you watch the extras for these films?
You know what? I'm not getting the extras, and I think it's because I'm using the Apple TV app on my Samsung TV. I'm not using my Apple TV box. So I think I need to actually, because the Apple TV box is upstairs, I might have to buy another one for downstairs.
Yeah, it's worth it.
That's one disadvantage of using the Apple TV app. You don't get all the access to all the extra features.
It's worth it. I mean, and obviously these would be the same featurettes on the Blu-rays as well. So if people want to watch these films, Apple TV is not the only way to see them. But they really do show the artistry that McQuarrie's putting into these films. And I was watching some featurettes of him and the editor of the film, just talking through why they like the deleted scenes. So in most featurettes, they will show the deleted scenes with the actors talking, and when the actors stop talking, they will leave a comment and a commentary. What they do with these featurettes is the ones with the commentary, they just put a sort of quieter Mission Impossible soundtrack over it, so you don't hear any of the filmic speech. It's just McQuarrie and the editor talking about why they got rid of these scenes. But honestly, I'm spellbound by some of his explanations. So they're definitely worth a watch, and you do understand what. I mean, he's obviously very much focused on the Mission Impossible franchise because they are so time-consuming to make and very expensive, but also hard, very challenging to make. But he's very much an artist at what he does, and it's I think I appreciate watching some of these stunts being filmed more now, having seen these featurettes and seeing all the work that goes into them. And Tom Cruise is an absolute unit as well. We'll come to that later on.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, the thing as well with McQuarrie is that he's been very respectful, and somehow he's managed to produce consistently brilliant films that still feel like they've got a different director behind the camera in a way, because the color palettes are different, and it's so hard to explain that it's Christopher McQuarrie, but he's not just repeating the same tricks. Rogue Nation's overall look and feel is just different. I mean, not completely different, but it's just different to Fallout. Fallout has got a much colder sort of look to it. Rogue Nation was a lot warmer. It's
It depends
just
what DP the director chooses as well. I imagine, as well as their vision. Different DPs will have different, styles of filming. And if you look at John Wick, for instance, John Wick has very much a style that's very identifiable with I can never pronounce his name, Chad Stahelski. The director Chad Stahelski. He's very much got a style that is unique to the John Wick films, and they're quite interesting films to compare in terms of filming.
Yeah, but the thing with John Wick, apart from the first one, I always have to stop and think for a second about which one's 2, which one's 3, which one's 4. Whereas with the Mission Impossible, you know which is which.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to describe, but I think he's just such an amazing director, and to think that he was ready to give up when after his very first film, The Way of the Gun, which I don't know if either of you have seen that film.
I've not seen that.
With Benicio del Toro and Reese Witherspoon's ex-husband, Ryan Philippe, and Juliette... Oh, God, what was her name?
Lewis?
Is it Juliette Lewis? Was she in Natural Born Killers?
Yeah, Trigger's daughter.
Yeah. So she plays a surrogate in that.
She plays Robin, doesn't she, in that film? I'm looking at the IMDb now.
If you've not seen it, go look it up. It's absolutely brilliant. It didn't deserve to bomb like it did. Absolutely fantastic film. And then obviously, he'd won an Oscar for the screenplay for The Usual Suspects. Yeah. Which there's a reference we'll come back to for the next movie, actually, so we won't talk about that just now. Anyway, racing on. So Tom Cruise returns, putting his life on the line for our entertainment. Poor guy. By this time he is probably mid-50s, I think.
He's 56 in this film.
At this point, he's older than any of us by a few years, and none of us could do any of that stuff. No. So hats off to him.
He's literally 20 years older than Henry Cavill in this film.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
He doesn't look it, and certainly holds his own.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not got much else to do apart from films and working out and looking good. So.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is true.
Really.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill as August Walker. Now, this Henry Cavill and Henry Cavill's moustache, who was cast separately, brought back some memories of this time period, because this was when Justice League came out, and Henry Cavill had to go and do reshoots, and they had, remember the dodgy CGI to get rid of the tash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Zack Snyder's Justice League is so much better. Yeah, I want a supercut of Zack Snyder's Justice League where they get rid of the slow-mo stuff. I reckon they could cut that whole thing down by at least... yeah, exactly.
So Henry Cavill, Henry Cavill, he had a clause in his contract which forbade him from shaving his beard and moustache for Agent Walker. But then the reason the problems came up is because he had to go back for reshoots in Superman and Justice League as Superman. Because of all the issues with Zack's family issues and so on. They were going to suggest shutting down production on Mission Impossible to let him shave his beard, do his reshoots, and then get Warner Brothers to pay $3 million for visual effects needed to add facial hair to Cavill's in Paramount in the Mission Impossible film afterwards. However,
no.
I bet Cruise got wind of this as well because he's got such clout.
Yeah.
Paramount got wind of that idea and basically were like, nope. So actually, what happened was the opposite. He got to keep his moustache for Mission Impossible, and then they had to spend millions removing his moustache for Justice League. And interestingly, my favourite VFX dudes I follow, the Corridor Crew, they then went back to those scenes in Superman in Justice League. Rather than using frame by frame rotoscoping, which was what they did for the film, they used deep fake technology at a fraction of the cost and got better shots of Cavill as Superman without moustache than Warner Brothers did. So it's all very humiliating for Warner Brothers, I think, on many aspects. So then they make DC films, so they're probably used to being humiliated anyway, aren't they? So over to you, boys.
I thought he was brilliant in this, but we'll talk more about him later. Rebecca Ferguson is back as Ilsa Faust. Her return was not initially guaranteed because she was pregnant during a significant portion of the production. So if you look at the costuming for her, in certain places, it's very loose clothing, and that was to hide the bump. I remember her on the Graham Norton show around that time. I think she was almost full term by then, quite 8 months in or something.
She was 8 months in by the end of production of the film, so it must have been almost, as you say, even closer to term.
Yeah. And don't forget, production would have ended. I mean, literally, it would have been like a week or so before release of the damn thing. And again, yeah, it's crazy. The way they make these films is literally like, Gromit laying the train tracks in front of the train in the wrong trousers. So yeah, but she adjusted her schedule to reprise the role because she loves Mission, she loves working with Tom Cruise, and she really, really loved her time on Rogue Nation. So and the film's all the better for it.
She did have a 3-film contract too, Bobby, to be fair. So she was due to be doing 3 films in the franchise.
Really?
Yeah, she had a 3-film contract, which obviously her last film is coming up, I think. She's kind of an independent soul, isn't she, as well? So
Yeah. In sort of Bond fashion, we have now our tradition in Mission Impossible of having another very strong female lead. Vanessa Kirby makes her entrance into the Mission Impossible franchise, I know, as the White Widow, Alana Mitsopoulos, who is the daughter of Max from the original Mission Impossible, played by Vanessa Redgrave. So apparently Vanessa Redgrave, they wanted to get her back as Max. I can't remember if it was for Rogue Nation or this one, but
Mission Impossible 3, I think, wasn't it?
Or maybe even 3, but that didn't happen. But I think Vanessa Kirby is such a talented actress, and again, the next Alex, by this point you have seen the next one, haven't you?
I have. Yeah,
okay.
You can spoiler me. It's not a problem.
Okay, good. But yeah, I mean, even
some of our listeners may not have seen it yet.
No, this is true, but whatever. I've already given the spoiler alert, so if they're still here, that's their problem.
For the next film, Bobby, you haven't, have you? That's the thing. I want to make this clear. You spoiled the current film, but not the next film. So if we talk about the next film,
okay, well,
we haven't seen it.
How do you know that
here for the people,
I was
I'm like
Mr.
Ethan,
Freaking
right?
Magic 8 Ball? Yeah. Was I going to spoil the next film? Maybe I wasn't. Maybe what I was going to say, if you'd been patient, is, and patient. In the next film, we will really see the extent of her acting prowess.
Okay.
But I won't say what it is yet.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad we all concur.
Fair as Vanessa Kirby, for sure.
Jeez. Simon Pegg returns as Benji. Ving Rhames returns as Luther Stickle. Sean Harris returns as Solomon Lane, probably the creepiest to date, the creepiest villain for me in the entire thing. Like, the guy makes my skin crawl. He was in Prometheus, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the
he was the first one to sort of
engineered
get done.
dude, wasn't he? He gets turned into a proper monster in that, isn't he? He's a pretty. I think he's quite a good character actor. He's very unique in each of his films, isn't he? He's probably
he looks like a BBC, like he's got a rat-shaped face.
Well. Yeah,
and he's quite scary, isn't he?
Yeah.
Very.
Throughout, you really you buy into all of it.
Yeah,
which is important with a villain. You have to buy into that.
He was in Paris Has Fallen as well. And actually, one of his scariest films, which I haven't been able to watch the whole of it yet. It was a really, really bizarre. I'm getting like creeps now. A very, very bizarre, kind of dark horror film called Possum, where he has this sort of spider creature in his bag, and it's weird, but he's very good in it. But the film is just bizarre, and you won't be able to sleep after you watch it. But that's Sean Harris for me. He does very strange films.
Alec Baldwin returns as director of the IMF now. Angela Bassett makes her series debut as Erica Sloan, CIA director, who is extremely skeptical. And there are a number of times, I mean, even at the start, Carolina has got the memory of a goldfish, which is brilliant when it comes to seeing movies that she has seen before, but she forgets that she's seen them. And she straight away is like, oh my God, he's a bad guy. How can you not know that he's the mole in your thing? Because look at that moustache. That is a bad guy's moustache. That's all she was saying through the whole thing. And she was delighted when she was proved right.
Yeah. Twirl his villain's moustache, you see, that's what it is.
And as we've already mentioned, Michelle Monaghan returns as Julia Mead Hunt. So I believe that opening dream sequence was also to remind us of the character.
Yeah.
Because she was obviously due to pop up towards the end. But I think I heard an interview with Tom Cruise and McHugh where they were saying that they kind of had to find a way to remind us about her, because obviously if she just popped up towards the end of the film, it'd been like, what? So and obviously remind us that Ethan was very much in love with her, and all the rest of it. So there we go. Right. So I think, plot guys, we should go through sort of like the big main bits. So let's start with Berlin. The film opens with a gripping sequence in Berlin where Ethan's team attempts to intercept the stolen plutonium cores. However, they fail. In a pivotal moment,
isn't it? Do you think?
It is, but here's the other thing. McQuarrie was very keen that... so Brad Bird started it off. Brad Bird's Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
His thing from the outset is that all the gadgets would fail. Like, nothing would work.
Yeah, I remember that,
And so McQuarrie kind of wanted to sort of carry that on, but sort of kind of use... He when he makes decisions, it's always for the betterment of character development and story. So this was about... Because why does a mission fail? Because Ethan chooses to save Luther over securing deadly nuclear material. Right?
I think this film does a very good job of cementing and really firming up Ethan Hunt's character for the next three films. I think that's one of the core tenets of these films, is showing he's not a kind of a rapey happy slapper like some of the Bonds have been. He's a caring guy who looks out for his team and his friends and the human race in general, and this is kind of setting the standard for the next few films. Some good writing in it.
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, he gets raked over the coals for it. He saved Luther's life. But the apostles now have the nuclear material and, could start nuclear war or Holocaust or whatever. But, this tells us a lot about Ethan's moral compass. And it also makes you think about what you would do if you were in the same position. Would you let your friend die to save millions?
Not you guys. No, I wouldn't let you die.
Oh, that's nice. I wouldn't. I'm too nice.
I don't like airing my dirty laundry in public, so I won't say what I'm thinking in front of you. Then we
Not the M2. Anything but the M2.
Next, next up, I'd run you over with the M2. Next up is the Halo jump. Now, this was the kind of set piece that the film was kind of marketed around, and we saw all the little behind the scenes stuff of him doing it. We didn't know what the context was, but he trained extensively for this, executed at a staggering 25,000 feet above the Earth's surface. Tom Cruise became the first actor to ever perform a high altitude, low opening Halo jump on camera. The production team rigged his helmet with LED lights to shine back onto his face so that the audience would be left in no doubt as to who was doing that stunt. No dodgy Roger Moore with jaws on his back.
Do you not think, though, Bobby, do you not think at this point, we now know Tom does all his own stunts? Like, we know, it's just it's a given now.
I know, but imagine if they just said, okay, well, we don't need to bother about whether Tom can be seen or not. How would that change your experience?
Well, I suppose
compared to
wouldn't they?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing you see again, you're forgetting Cruise looks at every frame of the film from the audience's point of view, with a view to making sure that every single shot has us completely engaged. And guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but since maybe Ghost Protocol, but more so Rogue Nation, I find myself unable to take my hands, sorry, because my computer's now saying hand gestures because Riverside is doing some weird thing, sorry, to take my eyes off the screen during these films. I don't look at my phone. I don't get distracted by anything. I don't want to get up to go, get snacks or go to the loo or whatever. I'm just riveted to these films because, and they just feel like they've been made for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Bond films, there's always moments when he's going to have a shag or, there's some useless bit of exposition or whatever, and you use that opportunity to go take a tinkle or, look at Instagram or something. Whereas with these films, you just don't do that.
Bobby,
not since Mission Impossible 4, anyway.
I don't look at my phone ever during any films. That's a bit of a Victor Meldrew thing of me. Sorry. It's the reason I don't go to my local Cineplex anymore, in fact, because... Anyway, that's another story.
When I'm in a cinema,
I know what you're saying, though. I know what you're saying, though.
At home...
These films are like 2.5 hours long, this one. The next one's 2 3/4 hours long. They don't feel that long when you watch them. That's what you're saying. Because they are designed to grab your attention, and the pace keeps you watching, and the way that the scenes are cut together and the blocking, everything is a masterpiece in visual design in these films. And I do wonder, I do find myself speculating that once we get this final film, and we can speculate maybe after the final film, like what's McHugh going to do next? Because he's going to carry on making films,
I think he and Tom Cruise have publicly said that they will keep making films together until they die.
Right.
Not necessarily Mission Impossible.
Then Tom will be off soon, won't he?
I don't think they'll. I honestly don't think there's going to be any more Tom Cruise Mission Impossible after the Final Reckoning. But anyway, that's a story for another time. Henry Cavill did not do his own stunts during this bit. They performed the Texas switch in the plane. So there's a moment where the camera sort of spins around the two of them, and that's the moment they do the Texas switch.
Like they do with the masks.
So they had the stunt guy hiding behind that sort of pile of stuff in the plane, along with a number of the other production crew. So they had to get the angle just right, otherwise you could see everybody there. So when they do the Texas switch, Henry Cavill basically runs off behind that pile of stuff.
Like a coward.
So the stuntman takes over.
Superman, Schmooperman.
Just because Tom Cruise sticks his head in a toilet doesn't mean you have to as well, John. Okay. Next up was the chase through Paris and the bathroom fight let's
Oh, that's
talk about
good.
the bathroom fight,
Enjoyed that.
Alex.
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was good.
It's
And they
been
used a gadget.
described by a lot of stunt people as the greatest fight they've ever seen committed to film in Hollywood.
What, is that
Now, I
including the
think,
Duel of Fates from Phantom Menace as well?
yeah,
Oh wow!
this was better than that.
I know. I'm just joking.
Oh, okay. But yeah, Alex, how does that rank for you? Because you've seen John Wick 4.
Yeah, it's good.
Well,
It's
John
really
Wick,
good.
this
I
was
mean,
before John
complete.
Wick 4, so
I've
to be
literally
fair,
wiped. I started off saying proper Bond, and then I said, I take it back, John Wick vibe. So
Yeah.
I literally,
There you
because I
go.
was thinking of the Bond scene with in the toilet, and then I
With the
was like,
broken
no,
basin.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's not that. It's Wick, and then yeah, just enjoyed it. It was very fun,
there
particularly
was.
when they used the laptop. That was hilarious.
Oh, that was
Talking of
brilliant. He
That
whacks
was
the guy, and then
hilarious.
he's like, did you inject him?" He's like, "No, I didn't need it." Henry Cavill was
yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.
he's such a good foil for Hunt.
He's a
It just
he's a bit of a
it
dick, isn't he, in
is
this
brilliant.
film? And that's
He's
quite
a
Yeah,
funny.
total dick.
Yeah.
He's a total
He's just
dick.
he's
constant.
just
He's
enjoying himself.
just
So
sneering the whole time, isn't he? Like there's a proper
Yeah.
sneer around him. It's
yeah,
brilliant.
As you mentioned before, Henry Cavill's now iconic arm reload gesture was an unplanned moment of improvisation, and it became an instant internet sensation, setting off a whole series of memes. But it was very, very cool. Probably responsible for a huge spike in protein shake sales as well. Um,
God's
the
sake.
the other bit that I loved was where they're basically trying to scan the guy's face in the toilet, and then you've got
Yeah.
the other guy sort of on the other side,
Rowdy Frenchman coming in.
rowdy
yeah, that's
Frenchman.
right.
Yeah, that's what they're
And then
classed as.
as
Rowdy
they
Frenchman.
leave,
Nice.
like Cruz just glances at the guy and then just sees that he's waking up, and it's that moment you've got to go back and watch it. It's just absolutely brilliant. It's so well acted, and then all freaking hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
But then Ilsa turns up. Someone
Hey.
he's just Tom. Yeah, Ethan's just about to get toasted, and then
Yeah.
someone shoots the guy in the face. And we're all wondering who it is. Is it Walker? No, it's not. It's Ilsa.
It's like-
Yay!
Yay.
I think we're all happy to see her, though, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, very.
We're all kind of rooting for her going, yeah, nice. And all of a sudden, despite her ambiguity as she goes through it, we're like, she's one of the team. She's really one of the team. And then even when they're not doing, they're not sort of working together, you're still thinking, oh, but you're one of the team. You can't do that. And so yeah, it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That leads into the motorbike chase through Paris, which was done with very minimal CGI. So Tom Cruise is really weaving through a lot of that traffic. As usual, without a helmet, all of that. Tusk. Honestly.
There's so many instances in the making of this film where certain things weren't working and Tom just went, we'll film anyway and just see what happens. There was a safety harness that broken on the bike for going around a corner, and he just went, well, we've got like 15 minutes of light left, let's just film it. And McHugh's like, okay, and they do it, and it's brilliant. But it's like I sometimes feel like Tom Cruise is almost as lucky as Ethan Hunt in his filming these films, and just gets away with these things without, doesn't completely get away with them, does he, in this film? In one case, which we'll talk about in a second. But
Yeah.
I do my funny runs. But yeah, how he survives all this, how he survives is unbelievable.
Yeah. There's another emotional kind of moment that really I felt when they're getting to the safe car and they're trying to put the guy in the back, and the female police officer stops them.
Yeah. Oh, when they've already got Lane, you mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is really good scene.
There's so much emotional weight there, and then she gets shot, and that whole sequence again. It just builds Ethan's character as well.
Yeah.
That he couldn't just sort of just leave her, and he took those guys out, kind of knowing the consequences of it. Walker probably would have. Have I got? Do I keep saying his name wrong? What's his character's name? Henry
Here's
Cavill.
Walker.
It is
Yeah, August
Walker.
Walker.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we know what he would have done. He probably would have shot her and then just got on with it. But yeah. So that BMW, Alex, on your gadget list, did you work out what series it was?
So it looked like a 7 Series, but it was an M Sport, wasn't it?
No, it was an old BMW.
Was it?
Was it? Yeah.
I thought it's yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I think it's a 7 Series by the shape because it's much more.
It can't be though because so here's the thing, right? So you've got Benji, Henry Cavill, and who else was in the back seat? Ving Rhames.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it might be actually because it was because they got out in the end, didn't they? Later on.
Yeah.
Hang on, where are we talking about? Where in Paris?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I've got to work it out because I was thinking. I think that's it's like an SUV, isn't it?
It's not an SUV.
Isn't it?
No.
What's going on?
It's an old BMW where Henry Cavill.
No,
Henry Cavill's character turns around and says you could have got a smaller car.
Yeah,
he actually.
That's right.
He wasn't happy about being squeezed into the back of that, Henry Cavill.
It was either a Series 7 or a Series 5. But they were both sedan.
I mean, they were much smaller back in the day, weren't they?
They're both sedan cars because they were the old classics. They were the ones that were still lovely vehicles. Wasn't there a BMW Scrambler in there as well at one point? Pretty sure there was. So. Yeah.
There's quite a few BMWs. It was quite I think it is I think it's a 5 Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Sorry, I had in mind the other one because there's a different one that they lose the plutonium from, which is a much more modern one.
Because it was kind of an olive green, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, that's right. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one they lose the plutonium from, that is an M car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the bit I remembered, but then I didn't note the old one in on my list. So
it's an M5, I think. I think it's an M5, the other one.
Yeah.
The M1.
But it's a great car, and it fits perfectly into the Paris sort of the screens. Streetscape and everything. It's just
also, I mean, before leading up to that whole chase sequence, obviously where you've got the heist to break Solomon Lane out of his van, and I don't know if you guys were with me on this, but I'm still sitting there, even though I've seen the film before, admittedly not since I saw it in the cinema, thinking, how the hell how's Ethan gonna get out of this one? Because they're going to be slaughtering a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
But he's always thinking steps ahead.
Well, they show this quite often, don't they? Where they start the heist, and then you realise, then Benji goes, "Oh no, that won't work," and it sort of pauses the heist. They do that a few times in these films, so I kind of you get used to them. But I wonder if in Ethan's mind he's already doing that for everything. Like he's constantly seeing the different kind of predictions that could happen.
Did have shades of The Dark Knight for me. Remember the opening. And those get like Heat and those sorts of films. It was very well executed.
Yeah.
Very well executed. Next big thing was in London, where we finally find out who Walker really is. And we lose Alec Baldwin at this point, which is such a shame because I really, really liked him, and I was kind of just settling in for him kind of being a mainstay for.
He became a very sympathetic character in the end, didn't he? Kind of a friendly uncle that they came back to almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know who voiced the mission briefing at the beginning when he gets the mission?
I do. Does Alex though?
Alex?
No, I don't know.
Who do you think it might be?
So originally they wanted to get Alec Baldwin to do it, but when he read it, his voice is too, as McKee said, it's too silky and it's too, it's very. I can't do an Alec Baldwin, but he's got that really rich sort of. I don't know. You go back to his speech in Glengarry Glen Ross. Brass balls, and so in the end, McHugh did it.
Oh right. Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realise that.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I mean, it's very, very convincing.
Yeah.
It's just that authority. So yeah, he did well.
Yeah. But yeah, then we do find out who Walker really is, and it turns out he's basically an absolute freaking nutcase, and a scary one at that. And also it's kind of tragic because I'm not obviously, you know, into Henry Cavill in that way, but I mean, he's a handsome guy, right? So you're kind of like, okay, wow, where did you get so misaligned, malaligned,
Sculpted.
maligned along the
Yeah,
way? Yeah,
maligned.
yeah.
What happened in his dark past that caused him to be the way he is? Was it money? Was it a betrayal? Do you think they'll ever mention it again in any other films? I don't know. But yeah, interesting character, interesting foil for Ethan, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll pop up in Final Reckoning when they sort of go through, and sort of bring everything together. I hope they do
A
it
bit like
better
they did
than
in
they
the
did it
at
in
the,
James
in
Bond.
Bond. Yeah, there'll be some
Yeah, but I
broken
think in
MI5.
Bond it was kind of clumsy because the problem
Yeah,
in Bond is that no matter what era of Bond, where they try and link something, you always go, yeah, but hang on, how does that
yeah,
work? Because,
yeah.
and then you get your brain in a Christmas lights tangle and you can't untangle it. Whereas
Whereas
in
Bobby,
Mission,
right? Here's a good example of right in Mission. The way they link things together is beautiful. So, for instance, when the White Widow is toasting her mother, when John Lark, Ethan, first meets her, she's giving a soliloquy about her mother, Max, and how Max was a lover of paradoxes, and that's a reference to her calling Ethan in the first film a paradox, and she always loved paradoxes. And those clever links are not clumsy and they're not clunky, and that's just because there's kind of I think McHugh and Cruise have got very lucky with their storylines, and the characters that these things work much more. The films are a little bit more popcorny that allow these things, whereas sometimes Bond tries to be a bit too gritty and a bit too real. Does that make sense? You can have these links and they work.
as I understand it, so they'd sort of been working on the story for this about a year ahead, and they
Yeah,
had a certain plan for
they were doing it
Vanessa
whilst
Kirby.
yeah, Rogue Nation was out. There'd already been optioned Fallout, so they were aware of this a while before, and then they had a bit extra time to deal with all the writing and so on because of the lockdown happened during the filming.
Yeah, but
Dead,
then they
Dead
they
Reckoning.
changed Vanessa Kirby's character from what it originally
Yeah,
was to what it is now,
yeah,
because they realized that,
she's a popular character.
well, not even that, it's just how good she is.
Yeah,
Um,
it's when she does that
so
little nose like twist and she goes like that. I mean, I can't do it because I'm not Vanessa Kirby, but it makes my tummy go fizzy when I see that, and it's great. Hopefully, she's in lots of films doing that. But just wiggling your nose is enough for me.
I
Yeah,
think
Not a
we're going to
daughter,
see her.
nose
We're going
wiggling.
to see her next as Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four.
Oh, that's right. And the
she'll
trailers
be
look good.
great.
The trailers look good. Yeah,
They look interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of reserving excitement at the moment. But apparently Thunderbolts is really good, and
Yeah.
so I should go and see that. I did finally see.
Captain
What was the
America.
one with Red Hulk?
Captain America: Brave New World, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't seen that yet. No.
it was a bit
Anyway,
sort of middling.
back to Mission
But
Impossible
anyway,
and
sorry,
Vanessa
back to
Kirby.
Mission.
Yeah.
So yes, Vanessa Kirby, brilliant. And then there was that whole fight in that nightclub as well,
Yeah.
which was
That was very John
great.
Wick. That was very John Wick
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well, I
it was
thought.
very
Yeah.
intentionally.
Yeah. It was good. I enjoyed it. But it was the music and the lights. It was, reminiscent of John Wick.
yeah. Um, and then we go on to sort of the really big set piece at the end, which is the helicopter chase in
Oh, yeah.
Kashmir.
Yeah. Norway.
So it was Norway was used as the location because they found that particular sort of rock or ledge at the end, and then they actually built out almost like a mini sort of town on the edge of the cliff
Yeah.
because they brought all the equipment to it and so on, and it was a It was a huge endeavor. Tom Cruise dedicated an astounding 2,000 hours to learning how to pilot a helicopter specifically for this sequence, insisting on performing as much of the aerial choreography as possible himself. The chase features real helicopters engaging in aerial maneuvers, including a terrifying corkscrew dive executed by Cruise himself.
Hey, but Cruise also did that drop, or the cable drop as well. Is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And Henry Cavill was there as well. He was on a wire for that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that was, I guess they would have talked about it, and Cavill would have had to have been willing, first of all.
Yeah.
I guess by now he's got faith in the crew. But also it's the realism, because I think if you'd had a stuntman there instead of Cavill, we would have known, and it would have taken the edge off it a bit.
Yeah.
But again, it's that sort of sense of peril, knowing that it's those two guys up there. It's crazy. So you guys all like this. So they shot on a mixture of digital and film.
Yeah.
And as you know, when you shoot on film, you only have a certain amount of film to play with. Unlike digital, where you can just keep doing take after take after take, it doesn't matter. It's just time. So they basically had 3 frames of film left to the end of that sequence when Ethan achieves what he needs to achieve with the clicky thing.
Oh yeah.
3 frames. Like, you can't get any more Mission Impossible than that.
No.
Huh.
No wastage though. It's pretty sustainable, isn't it? Using exactly what you've got. Fair play.
Have you noticed what I've been doing through this whole thing? I have these little factual bombs and I drop them and it stuns you 2 guys into silence. And it gives me enough maneuverability to move to the next thing.
To stroll on. Yeah.
Well, I have noticed this. I mean, we're on a little bit of a time limit today, but I also feel like, if we put in all of our banter, that it's just going to blow the time out. And so I'm like, we're trying to help you, Bobby.
All heart. Huh? That's what you are. Give.
Yeah. We're all about the team. Yeah. It's all about the team. So also,
just like
I just don't.
Team.
Yeah, exactly. So so that's all it is really. Keep going.
We're the impossible monologue force here, aren't we? Just keep.
Because again, this is another big finale action set piece, and I want to ask Alex how he felt during all of this in comparison to the ones that have come before. Alex, for you, was this like the best one yet? Was it up there with everything else? Are you thinking, God, holy shit, these films are good? What's going on?
Yeah, so it was the best one in terms of the action sequences. Everything was taken to the wire.
I'm just going to my spreadsheet, chaps, because obviously if it's the best one,
I was impressed. Yeah, okay. I was impressed with the coherence of some parts of it, although they do stretch that a bit. And the thing is, we got to, what did we get up to? The 2 hour mark, and we still hadn't had the helicopter chase and all of that. That was still to go. So it was really packed in terms of action sequences. It was just there was very little to fault this film on. Partly just because they packed so much into it. The Halo jump in a way almost wasn't given the amount of time that perhaps it needed, just because they had so much other stuff to get in there. But I think what it did is it just meant that the whole of the movie, I didn't really have an opportunity to just sort of rest. It was just like pam and pound and pound. Oh, look, this is happening. Oh, look, this is happening. Oh, look, this is happening. But it didn't feel like some of the other Mission Impossibles have felt like not hopeless, but like crammed, whereas this just seemed to be the right pacing. There was a lot to it, but it was really good. So yeah, it's really hard to fault this film. There's a lot to it. I think you have to drink whenever you spot a Bondism when you go through the film, because there are a lot.
Eddie Hamilton was the editor for this, and he does the editing for the next film as well. And he's worth listening to on the commentary. But he's obviously a world-class editor, and obviously he works with McQuarrie. But you've just got to props to the editor for this. This is the pace and the tightness of this film. It's very good.
Yeah.
Shall we move on? Are you finished talking about the film?
Well, I mean, my actual question was literally just about the helicopter sequence in comparison to previous big action sequences. But Alex,
sorry, I've just given you a rambling.
Misinterpreted the question, so thank you for that. I think what we should do, because it's not fair, because you guys do this research every week. But we're going to do it in the fastest time possible, guys. Okay, so John, first off, cruise schmooze and keep on running. Go.
Right, so cruise schmooze is 0. Easy.
Yeah.
I struggle with this one for the funny run. I think there was only one major funny run, which was when he's on the rooftop chase across London, which was quite funny when he crashes through that office block window and jumps out there.
Oh my god! Right, okay. Did you guys pause it? Did you guys pause it and then freeze and then sort of? No, I knew where it was because
we do need to talk about this. Yeah.
In the cinema, when we saw it the first time, I saw when it happened. I could see it because I could see when he jumps that he puts his leading foot out.
His ankle, yeah. I mean,
and it crashes against the wall.
I didn't know about it until he was on Graham Norton, talked about it on Graham Norton, and they showed it again on Graham Norton. But when you watch it again, you can spot it straight away. You're right.
So in that moment, there's a few things going on. So he basically stretched that leading leg out a little bit further.
Yeah, so it wasn't supported.
And so and then obviously the impact happens. And in that moment, he knew that he knew that he'd broken his ankle and they were going to have to shut down production. And so the reason why he dragged himself up and dragged himself past the camera was basically because he knew that they weren't going to be able to. They had to get that shot.
So you can see that when he gets up and he hobbles away. He hobbles away with a broken ankle. But they had like a 2-month hiatus when that was to allow him to heal and carry on.
And apparently, according to the medics, they'd never seen anyone ever heal as fast from that type of fracture as Tom Cruise did. So
he also said it's the
Tom Cruise basically probably sat in a hyperbolic chamber, like literally forcing his bone to grow back together.
Damn overachiever.
I know he did say that this was the easiest stunt he ever did. It's the one he's got the most injured on in recent times. So I will very quickly finish this funny run point system off by saying I've got a little extra fact to add now, which I'm calculating, and I've used the Rotten Tomatoes analysis here. But now they give you actually a distance he's actually run, the total distance he runs in each film. So in this film, he runs approximately 2,628 feet in Fallout. So I want you now to, when we watch the next film, compare whether he runs more or less in the next film. I think there's more funny runs in the next film. I could only find one in this film, and that is my slot done. Alex.
Okay, great. Alex, let's go. And Alex, can you just stick to stuff that we might potentially be able to buy one day? Just, not like arbitrary. You know what I mean?
Arbitrary.
Concise.
Okay, so don't you feel like it was quite interesting how they did the whole mission at the start?
Oh, tell me more about this, Alex.
Well, I can't tell you that much more, but it was done by it was a book, isn't it? I can't remember the book now. It's going to really bug me. But
Book of Job, maybe. Who knows?
Book of Job, maybe. That would make sense. And then, the fact it's got a blood pinprick and a little like tape relay and a little projector, all packaged into this little book, and an explosive charge. I thought that was quite impressive. but it felt really practical, which was quite nice. So it wasn't. So I thought that was worth mentioning. The other thing that we should mention is the fact that in Berlin with the plutonium, the car is remote controlled because he goes go and get the car, and then he actually does it by his phone. So that I thought that was worth mentioning.
That's like Brosnan's Beamer, wasn't it?
It was,
yeah.
I thought of Tomorrow Never Dies as well.
Straight away, I saw that. Yeah.
We had Dell Tough Books used. We had an iPhone 4 used. In the club, they thought they'd be all sort of up to date with their RFID bands, which was interesting. That's not how RFID works on your phone. Like, you don't have an RFID scanner on your phone that way. You'd have an NFC scanner, and that's not the same. So I'm just saying. Anyway,
good stuff, Alex. Keep going.
I'm just eating.
This is geek. This is geek porn for John.
Yeah, I found it quite interesting that like the GPS tracers and stuff were completely mocked up. They weren't based on anything, and they looked more like a microphone, like one of those podcast microphones, than anything else. So I did spend a little bit of time trying to work that out, and then was like, no, they've just made it up. So that was a bit disappointing. There's a portable microwave to kill the GPS tracker, which was an interesting one. I kind of feel like microwave.
Oh my god! Can we just stick to the cool stuff, like the stuff that you might want to own?
There was a drone. There was a drone, Bobby. Yeah. Have you not got a drone?
No.
So that's pretty good. There was wireless camera dots. There was a MacBook.
Awesome.
What else did we have? Benji uses the same laptop as last time. No point changing there. And an iPad. So that was it. That's about as far as I've got. It wasn't particularly high on that. It was quite a few, but the radiation was quite weird. It was all just it's all just mocked up. But it was so pretty. It was really practical. So I didn't feel like there was that much there. Go on. What did I miss?
Just your rating for the film.
Just my rating for the film. You want me to finish, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you turn off?
I put you down
for 5 minutes.
I've put you down for a 10, Alex, already. By the way.
Yeah, this is 10.
Yeah.
Just put
it's a 10.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
what did he give? What did he give Rogue Nation?
He gave Rogue Nation 9.5.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well done, John.
That's fine.
I'm going to give this an 11.
Ooh.
What? You can't give it an 11.
Yeah,
It's out of 10.
No, I have to give more than the last film because I liked it more than the last film. I gave 10 to the last film, so I'm giving this one 11 out of 10.
What? But if you're giving it 11 out of 10, hang on a minute, that doesn't work.
Because it's better.
I'm giving it 11 out of 20. All the others have been 9.5 out of 20 and 10 out of 20. I'm giving it 11 out of 20.
But then you're saying that all of them are just average or below average films.
Well, yeah, but maybe it's logarithmic.
Okay, you can't. I don't think. I kind of understand where you're coming from, but you can't really give it 11 out of 10. That would also mean it's the best movie that's ever been made in the history of movies.
I'm going to change my Rogue Nation to 9.5 and give it a 10 if you're really upset about that.
No, don't.
Okay.
What was your Rogue Nation? 10?
10, I love that as well, but I prefer this, so I'm going to give it 10.5. There we go, that's fair.
No, that's still over 10.
Only a little bit, though. Like Fallout, Mission Impossible Fallout better bit. Okay. What about you, Bobby?
Fine.
What's your rating?
9.5.
Yeah, tell us.
9.5. Okay. Same as Rogue Nation, yeah.
Absolutely. I love them both equally for different reasons.
It's like loving your children in different ways. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. That does give a lower overall score than Rogue Nation, but only because Rogue Nation had 5 funny runs in. So we do have a tenuous link in that I was in Paris when they were filming this and saw some of the trashed vehicles that they were using. So I'm going to give that an extra 5 points just because there's a really, really useful tenuous link there and break my form on my spreadsheet. And that brings us up to the highest score so far for all the films, of 36.
Okay, I think you love this film so much that you're just twisting the rules.
I am, yes.
So that to make sure it gets the highest.
I'm allowed to.
Okay, great. I think the Bondathon system was much more reliable and had more integrity as well.
Yeah, well, that's Bond, isn't it? He's got more integrity, you know.
No, Ethan has got more integrity than Bond, I think.
You're right. I think you're right. Yeah, he's a bit less.
He has. That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, white.
Fallout budget $178 million, worldwide box office $791.7 million.
Wow.
Made
That's
it
the
the
highest.
highest
Did well,
grossing
didn't it?
movie
Holy
in the
moly.
franchise to date. Rotten Tomato score still stands at an average 97%. So
very good.
if you take John's weird out of 10, Alex's 10 out of 10, and my 9.5, we are pretty much bang on with the consensus of everybody who has rated the film on RT. So there we go. These are very strong films, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I mean,
They're
since
really good.
Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's the steady tiller being held by the captain, isn't it? The captain of this team of films of the same director. So it shows.
Yeah, I mean, like, in what franchise do you get the 7th film being the best?
Fast and the Furious.
Resident Evil.
Oh, not Final.
No, they got. I mean, I love the Resident Evil films, but they are truly awful. The one with the VR underground Russian city thing was just unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
It's just
okay. Let's not spoil it.
Let's
not spoil the amazingness we've just talked about by talking about shit.
Sullying it with those films.
Right, we are off to go and watch Dead Reckoning Part 1. And we will be back very, very soon. So if you are watching on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us and thank you for sticking it out. Please remember to like and subscribe and join in the comments. What was your rating for Mission Impossible Fallout? And do you think it's the best in the series like these two do? If you're listening to the podcast in the traditional way, then please leave us a rating on Spotify. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can both leave us a rating and a review. That really helps other people to find the pod and it helps out our little channel immensely. Thank you so much for listening and watching. That's all I've got to say. We will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.